Plus you got 7 people that you need to manage and 115 volunteers. Board of Adjustment, come here, let me adjust you.
Board of Adjustment?
He said we have a board, and I said, yeah, Board of Adjustments, let me adjust you. I could never figure out if the opposite direction.
Right. I'm keeping up with expectations. Right, and you're keeping up with expectations. See, you forgot what I was called already, Trevor.
Mr. Awesome.
Shining star. I heard one of your dumb jokes. I know, I'm slacking. I know. Brody felt compelled to throw a cup of water.
I didn't hear the joke, but I don't want to because it sounds terrible. It sounds like the definition of a dad joke.
Come down to our office and tell us till 10 minutes. Has nothing to do with it. Just
Commenters, we learned that from Seinfeld.
right? Yeah. A show about nothing.
We literally laughed today in the park. About, what do you mean you laughed? You buy a jar, you throw it in your freezer, you forget about it. And when you need it, and when you need it, it's right there. That line right there made me laugh hysterical when I first watched it.
Okay, let's get started. I want to welcome everybody out to the Roy City Council meeting for August 16th, 2022. The time is now 6 p.m. We are obviously glad to see you. Appreciate you joining us tonight. I'd like to recognize that we do have Councilmember Joe Paul with us, Councilmember Skadden, Councilmember Wilson, Councilmember Sophie Paul, Councilmember Jackson, and yes, we do have our very friendly youth council member. It's always great to have you with us. Thank you for coming. Okay, we've asked Councilmember Sophie if she would go ahead and lead us in a moment of silence and then a pledge of allegiance. Sophie?
Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sophie. Okay, we do have what's called a public comment period. Let me just help define that a little clearer as we move forward. Public comments about anything and anything you want to talk about, any topic you'd like to share. I will indicate to you in reference to the discussion about Resolution 22-16 that's going to talk about a proposed property tax increase, there is a public hearing right after that. So you certainly can talk about anything you'd like during public comment, but just recognize there is a formal public hearing, in which case we really would like to hear public input relative to the discussion about a proposed property tax increase. You may want to wait for that public hearing if you have a discussion or something you'd like to share with us and with the council when we open that public hearing up. But other than that, it's now for public comment. Anything you want to mention, anything you want to talk about, please step up to the microphone and just give us your name and address. I'll make the assumption everybody here is wanting to talk about something else. So we'll go with that. So we'll close the public comment period. We do have an action item, and it is public hearing will be open. I'll call for a motion on that, but this is about the fiscal year 2023 final budget for the Roy City. And Amber, I believe you're going to kind of do the introductions, and then council, I'll go for opening a public hearing. So please.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Is the microphone on? Can you hear me now? Oh, there we go. All right, we are here tonight to approve the final budget for the fiscal year 2023. Changes from the tentative budget to the final budget include adding $145,000 for the CJC funding, a few carryover items that were approved in the fiscal year 2022 budget, and increasing property tax revenue by up to 15% or approximately $600,000 to fund public safety requests. Roy City cannot collect more money in property taxes than they did in the previous year without going through this process of truth in taxation and increasing the rate. As property values in Roy increase, the tax rate decreases to give us the same amount of money as the previous year. The more property values increase, the more the tax rate will decrease. Our tax rate decreased over 27% this year. The average home value in Roy is now $433,000. A 15% tax increase on this average home value would be $48.11 per year, or approximately $4 per month. We have had several work sessions over the past few months and discussed the needs of the police department, the fire department, as well as rising costs of supplies and fuel over all city departments. It is becoming more difficult to provide the same level of service without increasing revenue. Resolution 22-16 adopts the fiscal year 2023 budget for Roy City and adopts the certified tax rate of .001551. We recommend that you receive public input and then approve Resolution 22-16 adopting the fiscal year 2023 budget. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Amber. Okay, council. I think Amber pretty well summarized the discussions we've had over the last few meetings, particularly our work sessions. And so I was not going to repeat that. You did a great job making those comments, so thank you with that. With that then, I'd like to go ahead and move into a public hearing.
Would it be possible for some of us that might have comments before the public hearing like we did for the last, would that be possible?
Yeah, we can. But here's what I would caution. Before we make a declaration that says this is my decision, we obviously ought to listen to what the public has to say. And so if you make sure that if you want to make a little bit of an introduction, comments before we get into the public hearing, I think that's good. Just please not make a final decision until we get all input. I would ask you to do that. So sounds like, Diane, you have something you'd like to share. Yeah. So please.
Thank you. The budget has definitely been a very difficult topic for us. As you know, we've had several meetings, and almost 10 entities have raised taxes this year. In fact, this is, in the last 40 years, this is the largest increase in 40 years, both in dollars and percent, over the previous year for property taxes for us. Just, schools alone are a 30% increase, $250 to $400. Other entities are doing it. We talked about the possible request for Roy. But with inflation, it's a very difficult time for citizens, and taxes generally don't go down once they've gone up. Fire and police are very short staff and funding. Before this meeting, there have been considerable discussions about these shortages, and safety is an important duty of the city and the desire of citizens. Since the budget was created in February, inflation has created great challenges in the city to cover supply and fuel costs, just like every household. A full-time economic development director position is in the works with a compensation package of around $180,000. This position is primarily to increase sales tax revenue. Although it comes from a mix of money pots, it is equivalent to a 4.5% city tax increase. I have not been an advocate, if anyone has listened to previous of this, because of the fact that we currently have a very well-respected and successful part-time economic development director. Finances are especially tight this year, and the money could go towards public safety. Research shows that the increasing economic development hours has little effect on bringing in new businesses, and this position must be paid year after year, which creates a financial burden. And so, although maybe the research isn't 100%, the crystal ball is not clear, I'm concerned that this is not the time to add more of a tax burden on our citizens with a position like this. Citizens are having to tighten their belts. Is the city doing enough to tighten our belts? Volunteering is a strength of Roy citizens. I believe that fostering a vigorous volunteer program can positively impact our city budget. And I hope that you that are here can think of that. Maybe there are ways that we can have neighbors or personally be able to do that. It will also improve the community feeling and sense of ownership in our city. Also, Alan Hall has organized and initiated our fundraising event for the complex. He and his family have currently donated $100,000, which is amazing. However, we are currently $200,000 short to be able to obtain bids and make arrangements to proceed. The complex is currently being held hostage because of this. The needed money to move forward could be advanced from the general fund and refunded as fundraising progresses. There is currently a 6-month or more delay for repairs. Every time we wait for another city council meeting to advance these funds, the prices go up and the delays get longer. So as you can see, there have been many factors as we consider this budget. So I just wanted to share my thoughts as I have been vacillating back and forth with many different entities. And I just wanted to tell you that I'm looking forward to your citizen comments as well as you offer your insight. So thank you very much for coming.
Okay, thanks, Diane. Anybody else would like to make comment before we go into open hearing? Okay, seeing none then, thank you. Then I need a motion then to go to public hearing.
So moved.
Who was that? Joe? I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now in a public hearing. Now, I'd ask if you would, since we do have a large group, and obviously there's probably a lot of different ideas and opinions, and we certainly want to have everybody have an opportunity to speak. We'd like you to just simply kind of contain your comments to 3 minutes. All I'd ask would be is please come to the mic, just give us your name and address, and share whatever you feel you'd like to share as we're addressing this issue about property tax increase. We surely welcome your input. Don't feel uncomfortable. This is a public meeting. Name and address. Thank you.
I don't take this mask off for anybody. First time in 2.5 years, but tonight is very important to me.
Good for you. Thank you. It's good seeing you again.
Good to see you, but not under these circumstances.
We understand.
And I thank you for your comments. It's very encouraging. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. My name is Natalie Benton, and I live at 3903 West, 6000 South. I've been a Roy resident for 5 years now. I wasn't real happy at the time, but I'm adjusting. But this meeting really scares me. Since I got annexed into Roy City, my taxes have increased 100%, including this coming November. I went from $1,201 when I was in Hooper in 2017, and this November, I will pay $2,223 in taxes. That is lacking $174 of being 100% increase in my taxes. And I'm standing here tonight for all Roy senior citizens who are in their retirement years that have lived in their homes in Roy for 30, 40 years and up. As you know, our country's crashing economy, and we're all in this feeling the strain, and it's causing our everyday life to be stressed. I have lived on a budget all my adult life, and I'm now 77 years old and a widow of 12 years, and trying to live on a widow's benefit has been the hardest struggle of my life. I worked a job for over 40 years, and when I asked about my retirement also, is when I learned that if one of you passes away, you can choose the highest one, but you can't draw both. So that means I made a 40-year donation to Social Security. This is almost like a fairy tale. Trying to maintain the same household with just widow's benefits has been a downhill slide. A budget only works if it matches your income. As of August 1st, Roy City utilities have increased $6.91 and more if you use enough water to go into a higher cost for it. I've already let my front lawn die and also my park strip and the side strip down my driveway. So, another adjustment to my budget. January 1st of this year, I received the largest increase in my widow's benefits. It was $50 a month. It was great. But of course, my health insurance premium increased another $59 a month for the year. So I am living on $9 less a month than the income I had last year. So another budget adjustment. Now I'm here tonight because Roy City is wanting a tax increase. How do I adjust my budget to pay that and the increase of $222 I already have for this year's taxes? A budget cannot work for me if I have to adjust my income so it will work to match my budget. As I said in the beginning, I speak for all Roy senior citizens. Our retirement was paid in the 1960s through the early 2000s. Beginning wage in the 60s was a very nice wage at $6.50 an hour. And at our retirement age, some of us were earning maybe maximum of $23 an hour. So maybe Roy City can adjust their budget instead of adjusting your income to accommodate your budget, like I have to. That's the only way a budget works for me and all other senior citizens standing here. We can't adjust our income to match your budget. I ask Roy City Council to please help all Roy City citizens as we can pay, so we can pay our taxes and still have money for food, medicine, pay our utilities, gas for our cars, and still have some quality of life to enjoy. We need your help to get through this. And in 20 or so years, some of you on this council will be standing here asking for help because your retirement isn't going to be enough to meet your budget and no way to adjust your income so you can keep going. You know, we can get through this if everyone will work together and do their part to help the great small town community of Roy. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's try to keep it to 3 minutes, if you would. Name and address. Thank you.
How you doing? Jeff Barnaby at 5096 South, 2975 West. Been living in Roy for 20 years. Love the city. It's great. I too am in public service, so I know what it is going out there at midnight on Christmas to fix a water leak and do stuff like that. So I'm all in favor of raising the $50 a year to pay for the police, fire, and public works. I'm not in favor of management. You take an example, 1600 West, out that road, looks like someone just spray painted over top of that thing and called it a good road. That's terrible service right there. All in favor of public works and police and fire. If we could just please watch what you spend money on that, maybe you won't have to raise taxes on it on as much. And then another thing, if senior citizens have been paying taxes for 50, 60 years, maybe if you guys can look into maybe raising my taxes a little bit more to help cover for them, because I don't think there's as many senior citizens living in Roy as there is regular residents. I'll pay 60, 65 bucks a year to help them out.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thanks for your input. Name, address, please.
Yes, my name is Yvonne Sherbisman. I live at 5505 South, 2150 West. And anyway, I have a complaint about the taxes also because, as you know, well, Social Security, I've been on Social Security for about 10 years now and only had maybe, I can think of maybe 3 increases. And that was once Trump got in, we got an increase. But then Medicare took it all, so you didn't really get increased. But, and it's the same now with inflation is what, about 11% now? And I go to the grocery store, I'm spending $200-300 more a month now for the same things I used to buy. If you shop over at Harmon's, something I paid maybe $3.99 for is now $5.89. And so I avoid the store and as much as I can, but I have to go there at times. Anyway, all I know is that we don't get other than Social Security, we don't get increases. And when we do, they take it all for Medicare. So we're stuck. And my taxes, the proposed for 2023 is $2,426. Now, my husband and I both have worked for well over 40 years. And we don't have that. I mean, for a national average, we're considered lower income. For Utah, which doesn't go by the national average, we're making more than Utah allows, but it's not enough. We don't go anywhere with taxes, with gas so high. I'm going to the grocery store and driving as little as possible. Plus, car insurance went up, the house insurance went up, utilities all went up. So where does it stop, you know? And I think, like somebody was talking about volunteering, and I think a lot of people do volunteer, and if we can get some fundraisers raising going to help out, that would be good. But also that Roy complex over there, a little over 4 years ago, I went to go see about joining it because my husband had open heart surgery and Gold's Gym was closed, there was nowhere to go. I went there then, the swimming pool wasn't working. I went upstairs, you had to go up all this steep stairs to check out the equipment. It's older equipment, it's kind of crowded in there. You can't look out. Anyway, I think it's a dead horse myself, and I think Roy City ought to work something out with EOS, the high school, to get them kids over there to practice their swimming. Seniors can go over there on the golden slippers thing for nothing, and you get a better, and their equipment is wonderful, and it may look crowded, but it isn't once you get in there. It's really nice. And I think Rice City ought to support that place so it doesn't go out of business. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. All I know is I just noticed an increase on the secondary water again. I have a 0.1 acre of property, very little grass. Most of mine is cement. In fact, last year we cemented a good portion of it, spent $5,000 doing that to conserve water, and also we bought a lot of rock and filled in rock and cactus instead of flowers. So we're hardly using any water, and we'd like to get to the point where we can just have it shut off and not. And I wondered about that. Would we still be charged for it if we don't use it?
That's a darn good question.
I'd want it off my taxes if I'm not
understand.
using it. Plus, there's people with a quarter acre property and all grass, and so we use very little water. I mean, I don't know, it just, I had called once about it to see if they would meter it, because I know we don't use that much, but they don't meter it. And they said if I had it turned off, they'd never turn it on again, so. Anyway, I'm sorry I took up too much time, and thank you all.
Okay.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you for your input.
And I hope y'all would keep senior citizens in your thoughts, because we really can't afford, the prices are just outrageous in the stores everywhere.
Thank you. Name and address?
My name is Barry Seavey. I live at 5493 South, 3375 West. I've been in Roy, 20-ish years. You want to solve your water problem, get with the older folks, put in a pickleball court in every one of their backyards. That's what we did. It takes half the water to take care of our yards from now on. It really works, guys. It's a fun game to play. How many people, by the show of hands, would like to live at least another 10 years? Expecting to live another 10 years? Not, you guys don't think you will? None of you guys? Let me ask you this. If you think you're going to live another 10 years, here's a question. My taxes went up $500 this year. In 10 years, at the present rate it's going, you'll be paying almost $1,000 a month for your taxes. Now, how's that going to work with your income? If our Social Security goes up 3%, I'll be probably making $400 left over a month, maybe $5, if that. I'm planning on living 10 years more, I hope. Maybe not, you never know. But I'm just saying, it's a little tricky deal when you got taxes and you're sitting there saying, well, we got little pet projects that we'd like to do, and we've got things that we'd like to accomplish. And you guys, I wasn't at this last meeting, but my house is going up in value. You're charging me more for taxes. You're already getting a tax increase. You want another tax increase, so you're dipping here and you're dipping here. You're already getting things. I'd like things to be paid for and like to have you guys have lots of money, but at the same time, I'd like to eat. I drive a diesel, and before this last thing came into effect in our presidency up there, my truck cost me about $90 to fill up. I just filled my truck up here about 4 weeks ago. I don't dare drive it anymore, but it cost me $270 to fill that truck up. Now, I can't afford to drive that truck at that kind of value, but thank goodness things are finally coming down, but it's still dang hard to fill a diesel truck up. Even though it gets pretty good gas mileage, you can't do it. We can't afford, as a people, to pay this kind of money. You guys got to start to take in consideration and start talking to the other people that are waving this big tax bill at us. We want to pay schools. We do. We want our kids to have education. We do. We want to have good teachers. We do. We want to make sure they're taken care of. We really do. But sometimes pet projects have to be set aside for a while so that other people can be taken care of in hard times. And these are getting a little bit hard right now. So help us out. We'll help you out when we can. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your comments. Name and address, please.
Hi. I'm getting shorter every day. Glenda Moore, 2088 West, 3825 South. And it's much easier for me to post on Facebook than it is to talk up here, so I've written it down, and I'm just going to read it. I recognize that Roy City needs additional police officers and firemen because our city is growing and these services continue to be in huge demand. As a longtime resident, I will support a tax increase of up to 10% to fund 4 field-going positions. It is my understanding from the National League of Cities that city councils approve the budget. They don't create the budget. To that end, I feel the city manager should make the decision concerning distribution between the 2 departments. If that is not what the city and council want to do, then I think the funding should be equally divided between the 2 departments. I also support an economic director / assistant manager position, particularly given that 5600 South, all the businesses are going to be going away, and several of them are going to go away on 1900, and we need more sales. We need more sales tax to offset the property tax. I do not support the city allocating any more money, including an advance against hoped-for donated funds toward the Roy Recreation Complex. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Name and address, if you can keep it to 3 minutes, we appreciate it. Thank you.
That's no fair. Dennis Brown, 2119 West, 6000 South in Roy. I'm a resident of approximately 66 years. Can you hear me?
Just tilt up the thing now.
A resident of 66 years, getting old. Okay, how's that?
Good.
All right. Can you hear me now? Okay. No? Okay. First of all, I want you to know that I know that that Roy City is only responsible for 15% of the property taxes that we receive, so I'm aware of that. And I also want you to know that I'm a landlord, and I have several properties in Roy. So I'm representing 8 families as I speak to you today. My wife and I, and 7 other families who live in my properties. 2 of those families struggle each month to make their payments. They've been long-term renters since 2010 and 2012. I try very hard to have affordable housing for my rentals. The property taxes on my properties have ranged between 3.7% and 10.7% the last 7 years. This year, my total property tax on my home has raised $672.90. That's a 26.5% increase over last year. And my rentals have similar increases in value. Without the proposed tax increase on my home alone, the city will receive an 8.6% this year over last year on my property taxes. With the proposed property tax increase, the city will get 25% more revenue than it did last year. That's 15% higher than the national average of the actual inflation is a little over about 9% right now, and that's at a 40% year high. I try to provide affordable housing to my renters, but I personally cannot absorb an approximately $600 per building on my rentals. So when we got our tax notices 2.5 weeks ago, I sent a text to all my renters saying, if the school district and the city and the other entities approve the proposed taxes, that I would be raising their rents between $50 and $60 per month just to absorb the cost of the proposed increases. Some of those people were pretty shocked about that. But I also explained to them that does not include the tax hike that we're getting on the utilities, water, sewer, and garbage that went into effect July 1st of this year. I see no justification for all the tax increase. If I had more than, my timer, am I up on time? Okay. I don't see any justification for such a large tax increase. And Mayor and City Council, it's also my understanding that the city had an 8% sales tax increase in revenue last year, 2019 versus 2020. I think that's correct. So I think I attended several meetings via Zoom. So in addition to the property tax increase and the sales tax increase, we are having quite a large tax increase in revenue the city is. There's a difference between city needs and city wants. You cannot continue to approve all the things that the community wants and the employees of Roy City wants. Sometimes you have to say no to some of the things and decline some of those requests. You're putting a terrible tax burden on some of the backs of the employees of this city. Can I have about 1 or 2 minutes more?
Please.
Okay. I've watched several city councils this year and some of last year. I was very much in favor of the tax increase or the raise you gave this employees of Roy City and the fire department and the police department back in January. I was very disappointed, Mayor, that Council Sophie and Councilor Rick Skadden had only been sworn in to office maybe 20 to 30 minutes, and you asked them to approve pay raises, retro pay. You asked them to approve more over $1 million for a ladder truck. I don't know if they were given this information before that council, but they never even had a chance to even look at that. It appeared that way to me as a citizen of Roy City. 20 to 30 minutes of discussion, and you asked them to approve millions of dollars worth of taxes at that moment. I think that was unfair to them. It was unfair to the citizens of Roy City. I enjoy you as a mayor, but I thought that was a very poor decision, and maybe you intended it to be that way. I worked in the restoration business for 27 years. I was called out 3 to 4 times a month to board up homes and businesses burnt by fires. In all those 27 years, I only recall one time a ladder truck being there at a fire. And the fire departments were the ones that called me to come out and board up the buildings. And that was for a high-rise apartment building in downtown Salt Lake City. I don't know how many large buildings we have that's over 20 to 30 feet tall in Roy City, but to pay for a brand new ladder truck, $1 million plus, I think was outrageous. Now, what happened to the ladder truck that we had? I think I saw, as I drove down 1900 West yesterday, I saw 2 ladder trucks in the fire department. Is there plans to sell the old fire truck and get revenue for that? Or is it going to stay here? That's, as a citizen, I don't know the answer to that question, but I just posed that to you. One thing I thought about to try and save money in the city, I have 5 buildings in Roy City. You went from a 2 to every other month billing to a monthly billing on the water, sewer, and garbage. So you doubled the postage. I'm assuming the postage was doubled. You doubled the amount of envelopes having been printed, which would be a paper cost. You doubled the amount of staff having to record those payments. I think, why not just stay back to every 2 months and save some money that way? It's just a thought. I've talked to John Bond, who's the treasurer of Weber County, and I know that they save money by putting 5 bills, 5 property taxes in one envelope for me. I get 5 envelopes every month instead of one envelope with 5 bills in it. That way you could save some money putting 5 bills in one envelope. I know not every citizen has multiple properties, but for me, that's a few pennies saved. A few pennies here, a few pennies there, you could save some money. One last thing, I'm opposed to hiring an economic development person. I don't think we need to spend between, I think, $180,000 to $200,000 for that. In addition to that, you got to pay for a computer, maybe a secretary, maybe a car. I don't know what expenses go along with that, but I think at this time, that money could be applied to maybe another police officer or another fireman or something like that. So I appreciate your time. I thank you for your listening to me. I also spoke to the school district also, so I wasn't just picking on you folks. I just want you to know. But I just want you to know, $50 to $60 per month for my tenants is a lot of money, especially when some of them, 2 of those families pay late fee every month right now. So keep that in mind. Thank you so much for all that you do. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your efforts, and I thank you all that you do for Roy City. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Name and address?
Chris Lewis, 5126 South, 3550 West. I had written up a prepared statement, but a lot of it has already been said, which I'm glad to hear. So I basically want to say that I agree with everything that's been said. And not just because she's a friend of mine, but Glenda Moore stated it perfectly. She's very good with explaining herself. Every point that she mentioned, I 100% support and agree with. One thing I wanted to point out is you'll notice this room isn't totally full. However, the last meeting it was open to the public was for the Roy Complex funding. And there was wall-to-wall people. Nobody here is bullying you. That's not how reasonable people behave, okay? But we still need to be heard. And everybody has stated the same thing for the most part. Listen to Roy residents, not the non-residents that showed up last time. The county commission had a meeting, was it, I don't know, a week or so ago? They're the same type of truth and taxation. They didn't listen at all. That room was full. They didn't listen at all. County residents' voices were not heard. I would hope that Roy City residents will be heard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Okay, name and address, please.
My name is Bill Merks, 5705 South, 2325 West. I've lived in Roy for 46 years, have served as chairman of Roy Days back in the old days, served on the Planning Commission for 9 years, 3 of those as chairman. Been involved in the city, have kind of pulled away more recently with other things to do, including grandchildren. This was advertised as a truth in taxation meeting. It's interesting to note that on my tax thing that I got here, says that if budget stayed the same, my taxes would go up. Surprise, surprise, 7% they went up. If you look at the proposed budget, they go up 23%, not the 16% advertised in this sheet. Depends on what you use as your basis. We base property tax on alleged property values. By changing property taxes, you are taxing me on unrealized income, unrealized capital gains income. I haven't seen that $500,000 that's attached to my home. I couldn't get my hands on it unless I go borrow some money from somebody and pay them 10 or 15%. Property tax is not a good tax basis at all because it's based on funny numbers. Funny numbers that counties can increase at will. What is the basis for which my property tax, or excuse me, my property value went up $150,000 this year? What is that basis? You're the ones that are getting the money out of it. Where are you going? We've had a couple good suggestions about maybe we need to cut the budget, find some places that we don't need to spend. $180,000 for economic development is a good place to start. It's too late to work on a fire truck, but we can do some things. My city services are not what they ought to be. When I moved into my home 46 years ago, contractor put down the curb and gutter. And when they finished pouring that concrete, placing that concrete, they emptied the concrete truck onto that concrete. You know, that bubble of misused concrete sits right in front of your storm drain, and the curb and gutter is now sinking after 46 years because the water can't get out of the street. That makes no sense whatsoever. And it's been like that for 46 years. Now, maybe nobody in Public Works knows about that. Somebody maybe ought to walk around and look, right? Maybe some volunteer could walk around and look. I've used too much of my time, but we just need to know that our money is being used wisely. Maybe we don't need nearly the staff we need or we have now. We certainly have learned to get along with the smaller police department. I don't know why that makes no sense, but we have learned to do that. Maybe we can cut back in some other areas too. But let's find ways to increase services, and if you do that, people will be glad to pay the tax. But we've got to decrease our costs and hold that down. And a 23% increase in my property tax is not reasonable this year. Not at all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. Name and address.
Cindy Winham, 4152 South Lily Drive. Did not intend to talk, and I'm not going to tell you about my financial woes. We all have them. But I do recall having had a husband who worked for the city for 29 years. The last 11 years, he was into this sort of process. And I do recall very well the economic director did not fulfill $189,000 worth of revenue increase. That particular job needs to just be off the table. Dr. Wilson, I love every comment you've made from the Zoom call I sat in and listened to. You talk about youth who need to be taken off the streets, and I heard about the boondoggle and money pit the complex was. I remember names and faces, and I will not forget comments that I listened to. Dr. Wilson, you are awesome. You are thinking about more than you. You are thinking about our youth. You are thinking about the families who struggle every month, and you are thinking about those of us who are on fixed incomes. Thank you. We need to find other ways to pull back income, and taking off the economic director, don't want to hit the fire department, don't want to hit the police department, not going to knock parks and recreation or roads, but the economic director, when Tony Reynolds was there, did not fulfill the financial cost to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Name and address, please.
Yes, Sharon Seavey, 5493 South, 3375 West.
Thank you.
So I agree with what everyone has said here. I think my biggest thing that I just want to restate is that we're not against police officers and firefighters getting a raise. They put their life on the line every day for us. And that's not my issue. I also don't have an issue with the schools requiring more money. I'm a retired school teacher. I get it. I'm not against that. I am not against even the complex at this point. What I am here to say, it's not the time to raise taxes. It needs to be delayed. I won't mind paying my fair share. I'm on a limited income. I have watched it go down and down. I retired in 2019 with a sizable retirement from the school district. I'm to the point now that I'm waiting now for my Social Security check to show up because I'm out of money. And I barely make it to the end of the month. Now, what's it going to be like next year, the year after that? I mean, it seems to me it was about 5 or 7 years ago, Roy increased their taxes about 35%. 36, pretty close. And now we look at 23. I know things are going up, but I think we've got to keep an eye on some balance. Maybe the seniors in this city don't overpopulate everybody who's younger than us. I understand that. But we're probably close to 25% easily. In California, a lot of these seniors lost their homes because they couldn't pay the taxes on them. You know, I bought my home at $180,000, and now it's valued almost to $500,000. But I never got into that situation to pay the taxes on that much money because I can't afford it. And now I find myself in that situation that I never would have put myself into to buy a home that expensive at that point. I just think we need to look at some balance. I think you need to look at perhaps delaying the tax increase. Your issues are good, but not now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Janelle Holbert. I live at 4178 Westlake Drive in Roy. There's been a lot of stuff said. I think that we probably all thought of at least some of the things that everyone said. I had something written out, but of course I forgot my phone, so I don't have it. So I'll make this semi-short and to the point. But I will say basically what I would have said would be very close to what Glenda said, so there's that at least. I think that, you know, if our tax increase is for fire and police and that's the main purpose, I know that they've been struggling. I know that to keep, you know, things going with what they have, I think that, you know, I think 15% is too much, but I do think, you know, 10% or below. I don't know exactly what the numbers are because I've heard at certain meetings, but I don't remember off of the top of my head how many employees that would actually get us. But I think that if we don't do something to some degree, that we're going to have this conversation, the exact same conversation in a year. And I know this lady just talked about, you know, maybe delaying. And I think that, you know, I've thought of that as well, like maybe if we just delay it or something, but I'm not sure that that really, like I said, the more I think about it, the more I think we're just going to come back to this exact same situation. And we don't know the future. We don't know, so maybe we won't. But I just think that, you know, like I said, I don't know how many exactly that'll get us. I don't know if that's 2 or 4 employees that could maybe relieve some of the stress that's going on in those departments. But that would be my stand. I think that, you know, I think that would also take into consideration that from the residents that we don't want it, we want it as low as it can be that makes sense, I guess. So, you know, I appreciate you guys listening. I know that I've contacted each of you and you've all responded, and I know you all care about Roy, and I appreciate that. And I really appreciate everyone here has been very respectful, at least that I've seen. I got here a little late, but I really appreciate that, and I think that's really important. I think that says a lot about our community and the people here, and I really appreciate that as well. So anyway, I think that sums up most of what I would have said. So, thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Name and address, please.
I'm Shauna Blackburn, and I live at 5939 South on 3500 West in Roy, obviously. I have a question of how you can change the zoning of properties from residential to agricultural and charge them $1,000 more when nothing has changed in the last 20 years. We live on a stretch of land right there on 3500. There's about 10 properties that have an acre, maybe 2 acres apiece. And now we're being changed to agricultural zoning instead of residential. The United States Internal Revenue Department clarifies that agricultural is farming with a profit. Not a single property on that stretch is farming even more than to feed their own families. I don't know how it is legal to change it to agricultural when it does not meet that criteria.
Well, to
So
your question,
we'd like that.
obviously you
Yeah, I'd
wanna-
just like to know
yeah.
that answer.
I'm not aware of any zoning change in that particular area that you're talking about. It is residential. That's really, there's nothing I have seen that suggests that anything's going to change from that. So maybe you could do, if you don't mind, so that we can certainly hear about taxing, but you bring up a good point. Talk to either the attorney or the city manager, and I think we can get you an answer to that question. But unless there's something in the planning commission that suggests that they are considering changing it to agricultural, and I have no idea why they would ever do that,
Yeah, I
then
don't know why
I would
either.
indicate to you that the city council has not had a proposal put in front of them that changes the zoning in your area.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
But check with them, they can give you some answers.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay? Name and address, please.
Richard Jensen, 5464 South, 2050 West. First of all, I want to say thanks to each one of you for your service. And I realize taxes are taxes and we must live with taxes, but I think we can get by with less than 15%. For one thing, I realize the fire department and the police department need more help, but I don't think we need an economic development director for $180,000 or so dollars. When, if I'm not mistaken, Chief, the base rate for a new fire or police officer's about $35,000
The base rate for police officer,
in Roy,
it costs us about $100,000 a year for an officer.
but their base salary is,
The salary, so that's their entire benefits package. Their base salary is about $50,000.
so you take that base salary, you can, out of that $180,000, there's 4 police officers right there.
Pretty close, okay.
So I think we need to look at some of those things. The other thing is, when we had the last public opportunity to speak with Complex, the council agreed to put up if I remember, $500,000 for the boiler, so we could get the bids going and get things going. Now all of a sudden, they say we need $1.5 million before they'll do a thing over there. What happened?
Well, that's a good question. I can indicate to you is that it's not 1.5, but certainly as the bids come in, there may have been some adjustments that are being made in terms of what the actual cost is, so we're working through that. We hope that maybe on the 6th of September, we'll have a much clearer understanding of that particular part of the budget. But at this moment, we're still moving towards that because the council approved a certain amount of money and the fundraising efforts are still moving.
Right.
And our plan would be is unless the city council changes the direction of the city, our plan would be is we just continue. But we hope to have more details on the 6th of September in that meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for input. Please, name and address. Thank you.
I'm Danny Tittenser, 2892 West, 5650 South. I was not planning on speaking. I just have a question, I guess. When property values increase, does that automatically go into the budget? Does that make sense? You know, or obviously we know what's happened in the last couple of years with increase. Is that normal? What happens with that?
I'm going to defer to staff. She's shaking her head now.
And
Yeah,
I
how does
think
that
your
work?
question is probably one that a lot of people need clarification on, so I don't know who's the best to answer that.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
like, yeah, 'cause you understand what I'm
Amber,
saying.
go ahead. Why don't you see if you can provide a response?
So Roy City receives the same exact amount of property tax revenue every single year, regardless of your property value of your home. So as your property value goes up, our tax rate goes down and we get the same amount of revenue.
That makes
It equalizes, yeah.
That makes sense.
So and you do have instances where your property taxes are going up, even though we keep the rate the same, and that's because yours went up, but somebody else's went down. So overall, it stays the same, our rate stays the same, we get the same amount of revenue.
Now, new growth.
The only way that the city can spend more money is to increase the rate, is what you're saying.
That's one way, or new growth.
True,
Because
that's
if it's
true.
new, we now get the property tax benefit of new growth.
Of course, you can't invent new land sometimes, so that's hard to do. So where can I find? I haven't looked at this at all. So where can we find the details that all these people know?
Like
You know,
the
like,
tax
is it
notice-
online? Is it?
The tax notices that that's brought with them will explain that. Like looking at mine, if the proposed tax increase doesn't go through, my actual taxes to Roy City dropped $8 this year because the values of the homes fluctuate.
And does that give the reasons for the increase? We're doing this, we're doing that.
The proposed increases show on there, but it doesn't say what it's for.
Right.
And can we get like line item, a little more detail if it doesn't give that? Is there how do I get that detail? Is that something I can?
Usually the newspaper will define, and they have been pretty good about getting out a little more detail in terms of the purposes of what each of the taxing districts are basically considering and why they're considering it. So, but to the detail that you're referring in terms of how much is associated with Weber School District and how much associated with Weber Basin Water, Royce City specific, mosquito abatement, if you look at your tax document that they sent you, the proposed, it will basically outline how much is being considered in all of those districts.
And so it'll show the budget, the proposed budget for the next year, for example. Is that
It
kind
will show the amount you owe. The
Sure.
budget portion for Royce City is what they're going to decide tonight. And as any public document, as soon as this is approved, Matt then will have that posted, or Amber will have that posted on the public website, the Royce City website, and you'll be able to look at all of the budget. Even the proposed budget that we're speaking to now, all that information is loaded there. And then when it's finalized, then we'll make that available on the website for everybody to see.
that roycity.com or something?
Roy.
Cool. I was on youth council. Go youth city council.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, again, name and address.
Yes, Yvonne Sherbisman, 5505 South, 2150 West. I just had a question about who this market value thing. They're proposing to raise my property taxes almost $400 a year. Now, last year they said it was a market value of $287. This year they're saying $396. I'm in a twin home. The neighborhood is going downhill. People aren't keeping up their property very well. And who determines, because you get some people moving from other states that think it's a bargain. Nobody's gonna pay $397,000 for my house.
The county makes those assessments.
Well, how do you, is there a meeting in the county?
You can appeal, you have till 1st of September to appeal
Yeah.
that document, and you just need to provide them evidence to suggest is that it's really not the number they proposed, but it's something different. And there's some evidence that suggests is if you take the sell price of properties that are similar and present that back as your argument, that's helpful to make that change.
I've done that before in the past.
And it didn't work.
I mean, yeah, and I got it reduced just for that year, and then the next year they jumped it way up again.
You would have
because
to
you
do it
gotta
every year.
try finding, okay, now,
Understand.
I mean, people have paid excessive amounts for even a twin home in my neighborhood, which, but, I mean, I bought mine in 1994. I think we paid 96 or 98,000 then. And we've had to refinance for medical bills, to pay off medical bills and so forth. And we still owe 80-something thousand, almost 90,000 on it. So we not only have a house payment, but now it increase, every time they get increase, so does my payment.
Understand. I can
But-
only suggest to you is that.
But they go by your income. And like I told you, my income is higher than Utah's average, between my husband and I. But our expenses are, if somebody's has their home paid off, if my home was paid off, it wouldn't bother me to pay this amount. But it does because we're still making payments. We're still, and we're not getting increased in salary. We've had the same salary for the last 10, 11, 12 years. And so there's no, here in Utah, I think their average, I think it's around 32,000. Well, we make more than 32,000.
Okay.
So I wouldn't even qualify, and I don't know how to fight it. I don't.
Here's what I would recommend. It certainly is the county's responsibility to then to provide provide the assessment in terms of the value, so your market value property. It is also their office And I believe that the city manager or one, maybe Amber, we can probably point to, here's the office symbol, you probably ought to call to do that. But you have to basically appeal that before the 1st of September. And the website, to the Weber County website, and I think it's the county assessor's office, defines exactly how to go through that appeal process. I strongly recommend that you look at that and then see if in fact it provides detail. If nothing else, call them. They're certainly open to the idea that if there's legitimacy in your claim, that they should give you every consideration to reduce the market value of your property. And remember, it's the market value, and then 55% of that market value is what they tax you on. So you reduce the market value, it does have an impact in terms of the taxing of your property, and the county is the one responsible for that.
Well, they've got it up to almost 400,000, and which is
Understand.
ridiculous.
I understand. I could give you about a 30-minute dissertation of what's happened and why we're in this difficult situation.
And plus, interest rates are up now, so
Understand.
I've noticed, I ride my bike around Roy, and I've noticed homes for sale, and they're not selling like they were because the interest rate is about 6% or better now.
That's correct. That was purposely done, yes,
and
to
I
slow
don't-
the economy down.
Yeah, and I don't know.
I really would recommend you reach out to the county and take your issue on, because it might be a good argument. We're just not in a position to make any assessment or recommendations of how to move forward.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of seniors in similar circumstances, and, you know, you need to keep your house repaired, and as we get older, we have to hire people to help us. And anyway, retirement sucks. In fact, I'm thinking about looking for a job because it's just getting to be too much of a financial strain on us.
Okay.
Thank
Well, thank you. Okay.
Just a little bit of clarification. Yeah, my name again is Barry Seavey.
Thanks, Barry.
I live at 5493 South, 3375 West here in Roy, 20-plus years. Our young lady over here made a statement that doesn't sit correct on paper. She said that year after year you charge us the same amount. It doesn't change. House values, she charges us year after year after year the same tax. That's not the way it works. When our house was built, it was built for $60,000, and that's the tax rate that we started at. Now, that's not what we're being taxed at now. We're taxed at $211,000 on that house. And that's what's being changed, because it goes up every year as it gets adjusted. So you can't say you don't charge the same every year. You're charging us more as the value of the home goes up. If it goes up, you get more taxes, right?
Let's make sure we understand what Amber did say. The city gets a flat amount. If you look at the last 4 or 5 years, Roy City's rate has actually been dropping. And it drops, the reason why it drops is because in order for the calculation to work for everyone, knowing there's going to be some a little higher and some a little bit lower, then the calculation has to come out such that Roy City gets the same amount. It is only through a truth in taxation, like we're talking tonight, or new development. If there's a new subdivision going in, Roy City will find revenue increases through new development or a truth in taxation.
Didn't work this year though, did it?
Well, this year's a little more complex. And what makes it complex is you have so many taxing entities who are basically doing truth and taxation meetings. That creates a challenge. But if there was not a truth and taxation meeting tonight in Roy City, or the city council tonight says zero, no city property tax increase, then whatever the revenue we received last year will be the same revenue we will get this year. So there will be some who will probably see a little bit more in terms of the property tax because the property tax value of their property went up, but there'll be a number of them will see a lower amount. I think Joe Paul just said he will only see about a $6 if this thing is zero. He only gets about a $6. That's how the system works. And so to your point, All I can suggest to you is that I don't know who the winners and losers are. All I know is that unless Roy City puts new subdivisions in or new businesses in, or a truth and taxation meeting as we're doing tonight, Roy City will see no more revenue in property tax coming than what we got last year.
Yeah, but I don't think that's quite as true as you think you want it to be, because all the houses and people that I talk with, their house values are rising at large amounts. And that's going to be a problem.
I don't disagree, but here's the key. The key is, and this is the formula, take the market value of the property, then whatever that price is, and you'll see it on your tax notice.
I've been looking at it.
Take 55% of that market value.
Right.
That's the taxable value of the property.
Exactly.
And then times that by the rate. There's a property tax rate number. It's a 0.00183, whatever number it is. If there's no increase and your property value goes up, or everybody's property value goes up, as you stated, then the rate will drop. If the rate drops, then in essence it's not going to be, the rate doesn't stay the same. It will actually drop, as it has dropped for the last 5 years in Roy.
It did drop last year 68 cents on my property.
Okay, well, I can't tell you how the assessors did that.
It
I'm
did
just saying
drop
it-
68 cents, but
Okay.
now you want to raise it about $60 on my property.
Hence the reason for this meeting tonight.
60 years of increase.
I'm just,
So
this
you're
is,
going to make it all up and then the next 55?
I can only say to you is that
All
the
in 1
council
year.
is listening to all inputs. I just want to make sure we understand how Roy does or does not influence in terms of that decision, in terms of our property tax revenue.
Yeah, I understand that. And-
Okay.
And with our police and our fire department, we really do appreciate them greatly. But they also make money on other ways too. It's not just through taxes. I know that if you need an ambulance and it takes them 30 minutes to drive you from my house to the ambulance, it's $2,500
Okay.
for an ambulance ride. So they're not completely unprofitable. They can make a little bit of money doing things. I don't know how much a fire truck costs to drive over to your house and put a fire out, but I imagine the insurance is going to pay a little bit to them too. So, and we do appreciate you guys. Believe me, I got a flag on my house that proves it. But we're after things that make sense right now. Everybody's in a depression, and I'm saying every place that I can look, everybody's trying to get more taxes, more money, and everything out of us, and I don't think we've got it to give right now.
Okay.
But please just put it off just a little bit, maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it,
Okay,
guys.
thank you. Okay. Hey, we've heard from a lot of people. We appreciate your input. Oh, we have another contestant, please. Name and address, please.
Carrie Clark, 6018 South, 4025 West. My husband and I have just reached our 2-year point of living in Roy. So we're fairly new homeowners. We came to this at the advice of our senior citizen neighbor, which I'm grateful for. So I'm not very educated on everything going on. I'm just kind of soaking everything in. But I do have a side of empathy, and I can empathize with the senior citizens. Maybe my husband and I don't feel the direct effect of the taxes, even though looking at ours, it's like a $550 increase if this passes. But just because I can pay it doesn't mean that I can necessarily afford it. And I want to be a longtime resident of Roy, so I want to be at these and get more educated and know and be involved. And in order to do that, I mean, I feel like this meeting's very eye-opening to my husband and I. We're just, I don't know, just kind of gobsmacked in a sense. But yeah, I hope that you guys would. I feel like they're trying to express, like, don't rub salt in the wound when the cost of living is so high and so hard right now. Like, just don't be those people.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks for your input. Thank you. Okay. Okay, Mayor, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been in the same situation that you're in.
Name and address for us, Mayor.
Willard Sheldon Cragen. I live at 2568 West, 5225 South in Roy.
Please.
I have a lot of empathy for you folks that have to sit there tonight and make this decision. We raised taxes, when I was the mayor, 26% in Roy City. That's 6 years ago. That was quite a tax increase for everyone at that time, I'll guarantee you. Then the county turned around and had another tax increase in addition to what we had already passed. So I'm going to ask you to sit and look out here with a little bit of empathy towards the taxpayers in this community. You know, they come around, and I bought my house when I moved out here in 1970 for $17,000. Now, you know, that house to me today is worth $17,000. That's what I paid for it. And because some guy comes around and assesses it and says, oh, it's now worth $440,000, I wonder what he's been drinking. And you know, why is he entitled to come out here and change everybody's value on their house until they sell it, until, you know, my kids or me sell that house? It's not worth a dime more than it was when I bought it. And I realize you have an obligation to the taxpayers to provide the public safety and to run the city in the manner that it needs to be run. I'm just asking to look out there at the people that live in this community, and they're not getting outlandish raises anymore. You know, if you're on Social Security, you get very, very little anymore. And if you're a retired police officer like I am, there's not a lot of money there left over when the state gets done. So I'm asking you to look into your hearts and do the right thing. You know, 6 years ago was 26% tax increase. And where did that money go? You know, have you given the police officers and the fire department and everybody else pay raises comparable to the increase in the taxes that was paid 20 years or 6 years ago? I'm not really sure you've raised their wages that much. I'm not really sure where that 26% tax increase went. So I ask you to each look back and see where that money went. And ask yourselves where it went. And do you really need to come out this time and say, oh, gee, now we need another 15%? That's pretty heavy tax increase over 6 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay.
I don't know if I can do this.
You can do it.
I'll give
Just
it public
share your name and address. Thank you.
Sally Peterson, 2073 West, 5950 South. On my block, my yard, it's the biggest yard in the whole block. I hate it because I'm handicapped, I'm widowed, and I can't do the yard work. And I got this crazy vine going in my backyard that's like a cancer, and it keeps coming back. I feel like I'm cursed. But, and I hire a man to come and mow my lawn. But, you know, I'm on a pension, small pension, and so I have to pay for help on a lot of things, you know, and because I'm handicapped. And I just see the taxes going up, but I don't see Roy improving. And all these years I've lived here on the corner of 5600, it looks like blight to me. And I think we need, instead of raising property taxes, I think we need to get some new businesses in and make Roy look better. I mean, it doesn't look that great to me. And I think you could hire somebody you could send bids to the universities and for an architectural student and say, could you design something that would look nice when people get off the freeway and they drive into Roy? They did that with the Vietnam wall. This girl designed it,
and is a hit all over the world. And I just think that we need to bring in new business and get revenue from that instead of building more houses. And I see that Roy seems to be, well, where I live and 6,000 down there somewhere, you know, people aren't keeping up their yards as well. It's just kind of going, well, and you have businesses that go out and you get blight, and we know what happens when you get blight. You get more crime. We don't want crime. I think Layton is doing a better job on their city center. I haven't really drove around and looked at everybody, but I think we could come up with some ideas to get some good businesses in here and make it look better. Because we don't have a real good reputation for being a beautiful city. I hate to sound trash, but that's just how I feel. And if you have any volunteers that can help me in my yard, I'd really appreciate it. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Okay.
My name is Beth Dela Cruz. I live at 2090 West, 5950 South in Roy. I am 93 years old. I have been a widow for 32 years. I've lived in my home for 60 years, and the taxes are killing me. To think of another tax increase, it's just mind-boggling. And I really don't think that Roy City does that much for us. We used to have dumpster pickup. We don't anymore. We don't have the cleanup in the spring and the fall like we have had at one time. We don't have that anymore. I called the city at one time to see about a city inspector. I guess we don't even have city inspectors in Roy. My neighbor had built a home. They built an apartment in their carport that was so close to my house when they were building it. I could see everything they were doing. I could hear everything they were saying. If I could hear them, I know they could me. I had to build up my wall. The building inspectors, there was not even a Privacy Act. I called Roy City about my neighbors because they have crabgrass growing all over. And I asked Roy City, can I go over there and spray and get rid of it? It's ruining my parkway. They said, no, I could not go over and spray because that was considered their property and I couldn't do anything about it. So I had to do that flip the strip that they said. I called Roy City about flip the strip. No, they didn't have that, but they were going to talk about it. When I called again, no, they didn't have that still. So I had to go ahead and do that at my expense. I understand now they have it, now that it's too late for me to get it. I just don't think Roy City does that much for us. And I feel like there should be another way for Roy to make revenue. I understand they had the proposal to build a little hotel here that would give us quite a bit of revenue. But they voted that down because they wanted to keep Roy a small city town, small family town. Well, I can't see where a small hotel would have made that much different, but that was voted down. They they tell us to shop in Roy. What do we have in Roy besides eating places? You can go out and get a hamburger or some Chinese food or something, but they don't have anything in Roy. They used to have dress stores and grocery stores around and everything. They don't have it that much. And I just feel like instead of raising our taxes, my taxes went up $760 this year. That is quite an increase.
I don't have money like that. My car taxes goes up every year. My car, because I'm so old, they just keep raising it. And I just, in Colorado where my cousin lives, when she turned 85, they send her tax payment back to her, said they didn't collect on people that old. But we just have to pay and pay, and I feel like that Roy should find another way to get revenue instead of keep taxing their citizens.
Thank you. Okay.
I have to come back up here and change the mood of this meeting. Talking about Roy City isn't that attractive. I live where I still live today, but back then, we used to call our address 3903 West, 6000 South, Rupert, Utah, because we lived between Roy and Hooper.
Right.
But I can remember back in the 1980s, Roy City got the cleanest small town award in the whole state because our little city was the cleanest little city in this state of Utah.
That's right.
So let's do it again.
I like it. Okay, thank you, Natalie. Okay. Well, okay, we appreciate everybody's comments, okay? They're very helpful. Oh, Kevin, you would like to make a comment, okay?
Save the best for last.
Name and address.
Kevin Homer. I live at 5398 South, 4000 West. In my mind, all
Can you bring
levels-
the microphone a little closer, Kevin?
There you go.
Thanks.
There you go.
Thank you. In my mind, all levels of government provide essential services and non-essential or optional services. For me, in this city, those essential services include our roads, our waterways, our sewer, and our emergency services. Now, the resolution 2216 has to do specifically with budget allocation for 2023, including and specifically for the emergency services. I support that we make that change and make sure that they have enough budget for us here in the city, specifically for emergency services and all the other essential services. What I question is if we've had enough scrutiny of the optional, non-essential services. Man, this is a perfect storm of badness for you guys, trying to figure out how to raise money in the midst of what the county has done to us with our appraisals on the houses and what all these good people have been talking about with where am I going to come up with this money? I think that we need to take a lot harder look at the non-essential things that this city provides. I'll start, you know where I'm going to go, to the rec center. $400,000 a year it loses to this city in an optional, non-essential service. Doesn't mean that I don't want the kids to have something to do or good activities to have. But we are competing. This city makes a lot of efforts to create a business that is a failing business. If Vasa or Gold's Gym or any of the other privately run gyms, fitness centers, had that kind of a loss over all the years that Roy City has had, they would have stopped it and stopped the loss. If we want to continue having the Roy Rec Center, I would propose a plan where over 5 years, the rec center had to increase their revenue by 20% a year until they get to a point where they are running even and it doesn't cost the city to have any cost for that center. And if we cannot do that, cut the losses. Send the rec center over to the county where it can run it. But basically, I just want you to know I support 2216 and make sure that we can fund our emergency services.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, with that then, we've got a lot of good input. Thank you for the comments. Council, then, do I have a motion then to go out of public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Who gave me the?
Diane.
Diane, thank you, Diane, sorry. And who gave me the second?
Joe.
Joe? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, we're out of public hearing. Okay, council, You've taken a lot, you've listened over the last few weeks, definitely last few months. You've got some great input that came from the public today. What I'd ask you to do is tell me what you're thinking, and then any comments or questions, then I'll go for a motion to approve.
One thing I'd start out by saying is I appreciate the comments. This has probably been the toughest year of being on the council, not only for the decisions that have had to be made, the things that we've been faced. You know, even with the proposed 15%, which we'll talk about that in a minute, we had good chiefs that come forth. Even at 15%, we couldn't fund half of what they asked for with police and fire. We have not increased our staff in police and fire, but we're constantly hearing about we're not controlling speed limits the way we need to. We've got violent crimes going on in the city. We've got other things going on in the city. You know, we're trying to keep a medic program alive. We're trying to keep the firefighters to where all of our public safety people can go to training, that they can have time off. Right now, they're on mandatory callback that they can't even take vacation time because we're short-staffed. I think the economy's shifting to where it may not be as glamorous to go out and get a job in the construction industry, that people are going to start looking for more security, and that may drive a little bit back into public safety. Anything that I would put towards any kind of an increase would be 100% for fighters and police officers, knowing that we're not even funding at the level that they're requesting, and probably that the level the city needs. I've spent a lot of time looking at that. I recognize we have to balance all things. Just as it's costing you folks more money, my taxes is going up as well. But you know, every vehicle that drives in this city that's owned by the city to take care of water, fire, police, all that, it's costing us more to operate every day. To keep good personnel, it's costing us more money. And so it's balancing that increasing cost and the need for additional personnel with trying not to put it all on the backs of the residents, knowing that there's a lot out there. And so I would, I'm just going to start out by making a motion that
Please, I really would like to have everybody to have a comment, then we go for a motion. Because you may have some things you'd like to share before we go for that. So if I don't hear, then I will call for a motion and we can go for that. But I really like to hear if there's any comments you'd like to make for the public record.
So I am a senior citizen on this board. I've lived in Roy 64 out of my 68 years. I'm widowed. I work 2 jobs, run my own business, and my taxes went up 44% on my house. So I totally can relate to not having a large tax increase. It's really hard. I have a lot of senior neighbors, and I know that it's a burden, and it's something that, but I see our fire and our police ask for 9 firemen and 5 policemen, and we're not even up to the level of having a fireman per 1,000 citizens. We're like 12 years, we're below in the safety. I feel that you want to have more businesses come to the city. If we do have an economic development person, it's /city manager, because our city manager is so overwhelmed with all of his duties that he needs some help. And it would be, with all of our businesses going to be leaving when they widen 5600 and 1900, I feel that it wouldn't keep an economic development person, the last one, quit out of boredom, because there wasn't enough for him to do. But I feel that with all the changes in Roy, and I agree, when I take the exit on 5600, I've complained about this for a long time. When we had the air show, I'm like, they probably don't even know we have a lower Roy because it looks so bad. But UDOT is ripping all that out and redoing it. So that's why it's going to look nice one day. Just have to be patient. And we'll get new businesses coming in. And the hotel wasn't voted out. They decided to pull out. they didn't have the funding and didn't come to Roy. We didn't tell them not to. I would love to get a hotel in Roy. I'm on the beautification committee, and I'm a Nazi about keeping yards up. I pull my neighbor's yard weeds, and I've been over here and pulled weeds before. I'm not above pulling weeds, trust me. I know when Roy was a beautiful city, and I went for a long walk yesterday, and it hurts me to see how people buy a home but then do not take care of it. And I know a lot of them are letting their yards die because of the drought, but dead weeds mowed look better than weeds not mowed. That's just my opinion. So I know we have a hard decision in front of us to make, and I would propose everything that we do is for public safety only, and because I feel that that's where it is needed in our city. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to share a thought? I do want to answer some questions that were brought up. I've made note of those, but anything you'd like to share, please provide that to the residents who are watching and who are here.
I want to thank everyone that came here. It takes a lot of time and effort to come and to prepare, the courage as well as the words.
Yeah.
And we definitely have different opinions that have come, and we appreciate that because that's what allows us to know what some of that balance is. So thank you very much for coming and speaking.
Yeah, great comment. Okay, let me just see if I can't
Sophie wanted to say something.
just share a couple of things. The ladder truck will be sold, the old one.
Yes.
Did you get it sold now, Chief? It's sold? Okay. Heading to Vegas? Okay. And so that money, whatever revenues generated from that, comes back into the city council general fund, and then that'll be obviously redistributed. 46 years with the same gutter. Oh, that's incredible. If you have a gutter problem, and certainly for the people who may be watching, as well as those who have that, please, there's an avenue by which you can get to Ross' team. We have a list. I've seen the list. We look at sidewalks. They look at curb and gutter. They try to address everyone they possibly can. It's based on safety issues. But there's a pretty healthy list of trying to address the sidewalks and gutters, and they have completed many, many, many of them in this city. So if you see a problem, please don't hesitate. Get a hold of Public Works. Let them do their magic. They do a wonderful job with that. Thank you for the comment about 5600. I will tell you, they've already started the land acquisition. They've already reached out to some of the owners on 5600 who will be directly impacted because they're going to purchase their homes, purchase their businesses, and at a really good price, they say, and they will have to relocate as they go from a 3-lane to a 5-lane down 5600. It is going to happen. The UDOT, we meet with the contractor on a regular basis. We got another one we're planning to schedule in September so we can get the design. But once they're done, then we're going to have, as you all hope for, and certainly we're hoping for, let's revitalize 1900. Let's really do some great things to where we can make that a better. Once they clear out what they've got to do to get the widening done. I'm telling you, it's not easy to see what's about to happen. There's 76 properties could be impacted. 56 of those are home residents, and that's pretty hard because they're going to find themselves having to look for someplace else to live. So we have to do everything we can to inform them, to communicate with them, but it's coming, and it's going to be a 3-year watch, and you're going to be upset because 5600 is going to be a little congested. But when it's done, it's going to change Roy City for the good. Just be patient with us, and we're going to do everything we can to help you to understand what's taking place.
Something to go along with that, Mayor, on 5600. I don't know if you noticed, UDOT just announced that they, instead of doing 1800 parallel time frame to 5600, they pushed it out 2 years. So in hopes to get one done before they tear out another one.
Yeah, great move on the part of UDOT. We see that's a good move because it's going to be congested. And a lot of our people use 56, and certainly will need to use 1800 until 56 is complete. But it will stay open. They made a commitment, but it's going to be congested. And we are certainly addressing our children who walk on 5600 back and forth to school. They've got to be protected, and we got a plan to make sure that happens. Cleanup. We still have the opportunity to use the cleanup fall and spring. The difference would be is we ask people to bring their green waste, the other things, at least 2 weeks in the fall and 2 weeks in the spring. And we're keeping that going. We find a lot of value in that. The dumpster problem, and it was such a great program. It works so well. But the penalties to a city municipality, and Mayor, you were part of this, you understood what happened. The cost, the penalties by EPA, both state EPA, if we violated and allowed any of that contaminant that was in that dumpster to get into the water stream, particularly our storm drains, was phenomenal. You could buy a number of vehicles of what we would have to pay per day for violation of those EPA standards. We had no choice. No choice. As hard as that was, the city council, and Mayor Cragen was part of that, as part of the mayor at that time, he had no choice but to simply pull back and simply says, wow, this was just too much for us to do. So we got away from the program. And nobody wanted that to happen. But we could never run the risk of what the impact would be to Roy City, particularly the general fund, if we got financed, we got hit. And some cities did. And then flip your strips. We're really sorry. That one took a little longer than we thought. We were hoping, but the council came through. Today in Roy City, we are part of the Weber Basin Water District's opportunity to use flipper strip. Please, if you haven't already, consider that. It's a good program. It will not pay for everything, but it's going to help you for $1.25, I believe, a square foot of your parking strip. They will compensate you if you're willing to simply turn it to something else, either Zero-Scape or Exerscape. Look at something else for that. 6,000 gallons a year is saved if we simply are not watering our parking strip. That's not bad. And if we all did something like that, we can certainly help in our concerns about water conservation. And last comment, thank you for the hotel. Roy City did put out and paid money to have a hotel study done. It was excellent. We had a lot of people interested, sent the hotel study out when it was finished. Even some got really serious. And then the pandemic hit. And when it hit, it stopped that industry, literally stopped it. And needless to say, the investors who are thinking about putting a nice 4 or 5 star hotel in downtown Roy had to pull back. But the study still says it's one of the best places to put a hotel, in large part of what's happening at the Roy Innovation Center. We need a hotel. We're going to take that issue back on once we get the clear vision of what UDOT's going to do to 5600, and we're going to push hard to get a new hotel. You put a hotel in downtown Roy, you will get that nice sit-down restaurant. You put a hotel in downtown Roy, a lot of things that the public has been asking and demanding will now be, we call it pencil, will now allow us to bring the kinds of things we want in our downtown district. We're just wanting 2 things. Get past this pandemic, which we're almost there, and we need to get UDOT to clearly define what the future of 56 and 1900 will be so that we can look at those property opportunities for some really, really good things for downtown. That's our plan. That's what we're pushing for. I hope that answers some of the things that you may have questions on. And we do appreciate your comments and everything you said. Council, anything else you want to share before I go for a motion?
Sophie, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say a couple more things. So we have a YouServe that can help. Pat Medell, if you need help ever in your yard, we have a lady who's over the YouServe program. And I've talked to her, and she says, I have just kids waiting to volunteer and help people. And so our city manager has her contact information. If you ever need help in your yard, we have kids chomping at the bit to come and do service. So you need to make sure and get a hold of. And then also,
I'm also on that note. I'm also a scout leader. We have a local scout troop, and they're always looking for service projects. So reach out to me, and I can get some of the youth to come help out in your yard.
Yeah, and then also on the complex where it does lose money, but every pool in this area loses money. Clearfield Pool, Layton Pool, but we're not in the city in the city to make money. We're to give services to our citizens. So if we took away if we didn't make profit in everything, we wouldn't have basketball, baseball, football, wouldn't have any programs for our citizens. And that we are going to have a fundraiser and raise all the money to make that be the nicest complex. We've got Alan Hall, who's our leader over that, and we're going to make it nice. We're going to raise the prices, and we're going to try to make it more profitable. And so anyway, I think it's so valuable, not for just the kids, but for all the seniors that showed up. And we're going to ask other cities to help because they use it a lot too. And I just think it's very valuable, especially to our seniors. And it was verified that night. We had 1 out of 10 that were against it, and all the rest, how much it helped them. And that's what I think that's why we need to get this complex fixed and going, and then advertise it more to new developments that come in, and more housing, let them know that what's available and that they can come and use our beautiful new complex. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ann. Now, council, as we move now into the important decision process, I ask only one favor. It would be easy to simply say, make it a percent. 0%, 1%, that's easy. I don't think the public really understands what that means. But here's what they do understand. If the intent would be is the police officers, we need more police officers, then make a motion that says we need more police officers and tell them what you think. Or more fire department. When we started down this journey, it was made clear to us that this was going to be a focus, a potential property tax increase that's going to focus primarily in public safety. Let the council then define what that is. If you believe there's a need, then I ask you to define that need. And if we can walk out of here with a vote that defines that need, whether it's 15%, 1%, 0%, whatever that is, just define what that is, and then let's go through the process of finding the votes that we need to approve this or move on. So with that then, do I have a motion then to approve Resolution 22-16, approving the final fiscal year 23 budget and setting the 2022 certified tax rate?
I will make a motion, but I would like to amend to state that I am for hiring 2 new police officers and 2 new firefighters, but capping the increase of property taxes at 10%.
Okay.
I make a substitute motion.
Okay, I have a substitute motion. Let me just hold on just 1 second. Let me get that. This is just protocol, so watch us walk through this process. I have a substitute motion. Okay, at 10%, please make your motion on a substitute motion.
I move we accept the tentative budget with the following changes. Eliminate the full-time economic development director and delay that funding and put that money from the general fund towards fire and police. I would like to add an advance of $200,000 to the complex so staff can move forward with repairs. Funds to that, those funds would be reimbursed by the fundraising efforts which are going well now. And I amend that we do a 10% tax increase, but instead of specifically saying that the police and fire departments must hire specific people, I believe it should be divided equally amongst the fire and police, and they can use it as best fits their needs. So if that's for staff and how that can work for them.
Okay, Diane, that one's going to require us to do a recording. Okay, let's see if we got what she said. I've got a substitute motion. Just recognize I got to do the vote for the substitute motion before I come back to the original or the first motion. So let me make sure, council, you understand what I think we've got, and Diane, correct me if I'm wrong. You're basically allocating that we basically move the director, the economic development director, from the budget. You're indicating that the money, whatever savings would be allocated then to public safety. You're indicating a 10% property tax increase, and you're also suggesting is that it take, and I'm not clear if I understand if you're talking about property tax increase money or simply money out of the general fund to allocate $200,000 to go ahead and get the complex program moving? Help me understand what you're proposing there.
The advancement of the 200,000 would come from the general fund,
The general
and then it
fund.
would be reimbursed with fundraising efforts. It would be a temporary advancement.
Okay, and of course, the fundraiser is running. Okay, so we've got $200,000 for the complex to move forward and get that going, a 10% tax increase versus the 15 max that's been proposed, and remove the director position, okay, from consideration under this budget. Please.
We're going to need a second on that
I
substitute
agree.
motion before.
I just want to make sure I
before we
understood exactly
vote
what
on
she
it.
has, and I want to write that down. Okay. Everybody understand what I think I heard and what I just said? So with that then, on a substitute motion, I then need a second to that motion. I'll ask again. Do I have a second to that motion? Okay. Then the substitute amendment is in fact not approved in lack of a second. Now I have to go back to the first motion, okay? And the first motion said they want to basically amend the proposal that says 2 firemen and 2 police officers, and a max would be 10% property tax increase. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do I have then a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Randy, a second. This is a roll call vote. Please, Brittany?
Councilmember Jackson,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Nay.
Councilmember Scadden,
Aye.
Councilmember Sophie Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Joe Paul.
Aye.
Okay. The motion carries 4-1. Let me just make a comment, council, so you understand what just took place. The direction then to the budget, Resolution 22-16 will say for 2 police officers and 2 fire department
2
firefighters, a maximum of 10%
Or
property tax.
paramedics.
Okay? Now, in light of the fact that the council now has approved that, may I just make one last comment? You cannot go through this and not feel a lot of challenge and anxiety. This is never easy. I will indicate to you the legislators recognizing there's a lot of people who this is going to impact, and it does impact. Now, the legislators have basically passed some laws that are used primarily to help bridge some of the challenges associated with that. Particularly if you pulled the Utah Property Tax Publication 36. I'm just going to talk just a little bit about this, but it talks about a number of things that you may very well qualify. And if you qualify, then you really, they call them circuit breakers. I would ask you to consider those. But you cannot sit on your laurels on this one. You have to apply and have that package in by the 1st of September. Here's what I would ask you to do. Not knowing how the council would choose on this particular decision, but assuming that they would consider some type of property tax increase, but not knowing for sure, Brittany has copies that I want you to take home with you of the circuit breaker programs that you may qualify for. Please look at them, read them, ask the people the questions, particularly in the county. They're the ones that's responsible to administer the program. If you believe you qualify for one of these programs, as either as a veteran, as a widow, whether you have some other issues that may qualify, please look at them. They're in here. And then from that, see if in fact there's ways by which it will help you to be able to work through this decision. So, Brittany will have those, and if you can make those available to them for those who would like to look at it. Okay. Now, Natalie, you had a comment.
Do I ever? 3 years ago, I've never asked sitting down at the table. Below the highest allowed income. But after filling out all the
Oh, okay, I didn't know that, Natalie.
Neither did I. And Davis County only goes by your income because my son is on it. Weber County takes your income and then they look at your, and I'm talking camp trailers, campers, ATVs, motorcycles, cars, how many? And he looked at me and he says, well, your income more than qualifies you, but you have too many assets. Not qualified. And I says, well, you know, that's all great, but those assets do not pay my taxes.
Right.
And do you know what he said to me? Yes, they do. Start selling. And I says, thank you. Could I please have all the copies of my taxes and my assets and my information on everything in my life? Hand it back to me. And he says, I'm sorry, ma'am, but you don't get them back. They will be on record at the treasurer's office from here forward for anybody to pull up that and see my income tax, my social security number. So if I was you, Mayor, scratch.
Natalie, you bring up some interesting points. I can only say to you is that I can't speak to what you're saying. I don't know, but I will tell you.
There is no salvation for us seniors in that.
Okay.
Now, if we all sell and move to Davis County, I got turned down on circuit breaker too.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, the legislators were never intended to make this unique to one county to the other. It is a legislative that applies to all residents within the state. My comment would be is it might be time to simply reach out to those elected officials and say, this is not right.
Where do you start?
I would start with the county commissioners. I would give Jim Harvey a call and say, Jim, something's not right here, and it's got to. If Weber County's different than Davis County, man, please reach out. Somebody has got to fix this.
But I'm 77 years old. Even if I started tomorrow, I probably wouldn't live long enough to ever see a change.
Well,
It's not going to help me. It's not going to help most of the people in this.
okay, you bring a good point. All I can say to you, Natalie, is there's the application. I can't find anything about putting in there your other assets. This is the application's on the Weber County site. Please take a look at it, see if something's different from what you've seen before, okay? That's the only thing I can offer.
I'm not blaming you. I'm talking about our government systems. They're great. Qualify, but oh gee, we've added this little.
Yeah.
You don't qualify because of assets, you're out of the program.
Yeah,
That's not fair.
I agree.
Rules are for everybody.
That's right. You're absolutely correct.
It's unfair to have a set of rules in each county different from
Absolutely correct. That's okay, Natalie. I had no idea.
saved. And like I said, it took me a lot to even go in and ask for help, but I will never
Do that. Well,
That was a real learning experience about a taxpayer of 60 years in Weber County, and that's what I got for help.
yeah.
After paying 60 years of that. And
Yeah.
taxpayers' money helps fund that program.
I understand. I understand. I could say I have no words. I can't answer. I don't know.
Just saying, put that piece of paper down and don't.
But I will say that maybe there are some people who basically do qualify. Please consider it, okay? Okay, thank you. Okay, council, we do have a city managers and council report. Matt, share the good news.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things. Wow, that is off. So this is going to be.
Now it's off.
Is it off?
There you go.
Okay. This is going to be our last council meeting before our August 27th day of service. We're well on the way
closer.
of doing that. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the Davis, we spoke about this last council meeting, but just wanted to make you aware that we are planning on doing that Everything's going well with that. Also, that morning, we'll have the Wounded Warrior. They're doing that race as well. So
Can you
it's
announce
not
the
Roy
date
City
on that
hosting it.
again?
It's August 27th. So we're all set up for the aquatic center and everything that we discussed, like in our last council meeting. I did mention this last time, but Jack B. Parsons in the city, they're going to be starting to chip seal here pretty quick, so you're going to be seeing a little bit of that throughout the rest of the city. We have been waiting for 3 years for 4800 South at the railroad crossing to be reconstructed. They came out and they told us yesterday that they were going to start that project very, very soon. We were anticipating this week. Today we got a call stating that they are planning on closing 4800 South to do that project. So it will be closed at the railroad crossing. I know it does affect school quite heavily because it's coming on. It's going to
Couldn't
go
have done that
until,
before school started?
yeah, we didn't schedule that. School goes for the 9 months, so it's not us doing the work.
So when's that starting?
We were anticipating them starting today, but so very, very soon. It should be going on until mid-October or so.
About a month and a half.
I have a question about that. I was one of the ones that brought a lot of this up when we determined, or when Union Pacific determined that was the third most deadliest crossing in Utah. Are they going to, and I asked Ross, but I don't know if you've had the meeting, there was, when that intersection was put in, they cut off the turn going eastbound onto 2675. Will that turn be opened back up? Do we know?
First meeting with them is next Monday.
Oh, okay.
You mean going northbound?
No, so
On
if you're going
2675.
eastbound on 4800, you cross the tracks, and right now, there's a barricade that won't let you move over and turn on.
Turn left, yeah, go north, yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's gonna be opened back
Yeah.
up.
Is,
The
Ross, when you-
proposal was to open that back up, but I don't know.
And so now when you go down 4800, you can't turn
Left at
left.
27th and
You
from
can't
the
turn
tracks.
south on 2700. You have to go down, go around the roundabout, and then come back up and turn right onto 20.
we think that's what it is.
But we're thinking you're gonna be able to cross the tracks eastbound and turn left onto 2675.
Yeah.
Just,
Should help
Ross,
some
when you
traffic
do
going
get
to
a
school.
drawing of that exchange, please just send it out to us, let us look at it, okay? But, and
Nightmare.
critical, we got to make sure that the school, they may have been notified, but if you can help us get the
Yeah,
word out.
I will. And it's sad because they're bringing back attendance credit loss this year.
Oh.
So they're going to all be late and lose their attendance. But,
Okay.
yeah.
It is, they say it is the single most hazardous intersection in the state of Utah. We can talk whether it's third or second, but it is dangerous
Up
by your
there.
definition.
Whatever it is, it's up there.
Yeah, so just recognize the fact this is a good thing, but it's going to be painful for a month and a half, okay? Anything else, man?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, council, you want to share anything you'd like to see done?
I just want to say, raising our taxes 10%, is that $3 a month per household? Is that equivalent to
Amber? $31 a year.
$2.66 a month for everyone? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, or I guess give a little bit more details on that day of service, I'm just going to read basically the flyer that we have. Saturday, August 27th, 9 a.m., meet at the Roy Aquatic Center to get your assignments. And we're looking for groups, teams, organizations to help with volunteer and service projects. Please come with your gloves, shovels, yard tools. And then afterwards, Travis has opened up the Aquatic Center to as a reward. And so I know he's going around the next few weeks and getting projects and areas in our community that need help. And so I'm super excited to be a part of this. So if any of you do know of groups, teams, organizations that want to get together and do this, bring your group to this and enjoy a free swim afterwards. And then
Are they getting fed also?
We are providing food in the morning.
a quick treat,
Donuts and juice and things
chocolate
like that.
milk, yeah.
I'm not sure on the afternoon.
Will the snack bar be open for them to purchase food? Okay.
And I
That'll
believe
be
the
super
plan
fun.
is to close after that event. You're going to now close the Aquatic Center for the season?
It would be open the
Till Labor Day.
Saturday
Till
and
Labor
Monday
Day.
of Labor Day weekend.
Oh, okay, so you're going to take it all the way to Labor Day, okay?
And then just a quick shout out to the city and for the participation for Roy Days. I have never been so excited about such a great event. It was so well planned, so well put together. Hats off to you and your staff. It was an amazing, I can't say enough how fun that was. And to see the community come together and hang out at the parks and be at all the different events. I heard a lot of good. In fact, I heard more good. I can't even think of one negative comment, honestly. So hats off.
Right, we didn't
Very
have
good.
any arrests or anything bad happen. Right, we did good, right?
Just focus on the
Yeah.
positive now. Let's just
It
stop
was
there.
so good.
Let me,
It
let me,
was so good.
I would like to second what Councilmember Paul said. In a tough year for public safety because of things that's happened in neighboring cities and other areas, I think our public safety and our Parks and Rec and Public Works did a marvelous job to adapt, to accommodate. Even though it was a little different and felt different, a lot of good comments. I think it went well. So thank you for all your efforts.
Yeah. No, I'd echo that. As I say, the theme this year was a city above, but I would really honestly like to say it was a city staff above, because staff just knocked it out of the park. Police, fire, recreation, everybody was just fantastic with this. So kudos and hats off.
Great event, yeah.
yeah, great comments. Thank you. I will be asking, to be put on the agenda in our 6th of September. I'll ask you for the feedback. What did we do great? Okay, where we think we might be able to make some improvements. Please think about that from what you heard from the residents, and let's talk about that in a little bit of detail when we meet on the 6th of September. Okay, anything else, Council?
I did want to say that the Instagram for Roy City Youth is started, but there's no post on it or anything yet. So don't worry. I'll get with you after, but
I'll
it
get
is
you
started. So if you want to follow it, it's Roy City Youth. That's it, just on Instagram. No spaces or anything. So yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
RoyCityYouth.
Just like it sounds, Ann.
I thought you said
You
Roy
did good.
City U, and that's why I didn't hear the youth.
Youth.
And so I said, is that a what,
I
a
was
you
like,
or a
what?
you? I'm like, that dumb.
The youth. Roy City Youth. Anyway.
Okay. Anything else you want to share about Roy? I know it's we're coming back into the season.
Back to school is happening, so that's
Football game
exciting. Football games are starting, so come to those if you like
This
football.
Friday night
This
against
Friday night
Fremont. Yeah.
against Fremont. KU TV will be there, so it'll be televised.
K-Jazz.
Yeah, is that what it is? Yeah, K-Jazz. So it'll be televised, and there'll be a bunch of fun stuff going on. And the theme is Live Golden. So if you wear yellow or gold, then you'll be a part of the theme. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you. With that, then, do we have a motion then to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, Joe, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ann. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, so
Ooh, that was slow. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, council.
So I told Jennifer, people kept liking it, like midnight.